I am a Palestinian citizen of Israel. I'm a 48er, and I would like to be part of the organizations that advocate for Palestinian rights here, like SJP and like BDS. But I have seen the impact that Canary Mission, for instance, has had on the life of my friends who are involved, of profiling them, of having their names and their faces and their personal information posted in websites like they are some wanted people in this country.
Canary Mission's simple interface allows you to easily explore profiles of radical individuals and organizations.
Okay, so Canary Mission is a website that popped up in May of 2015, and its tagline is "Today's Radicals, Tomorrow's Professionals." The whole point of the website, which is to make sure to expose pro-Palestinian activists and Palestinian solidarity activists, SJP activists on campuses, students and faculty, and also sometimes professionals, to expose, quote-unquote, expose their anti-Israel, not pro-Palestinian actions, but anti-Israel actions, which are, of course, according to this website, inherently anti-Semitic. So that with the explicit purpose of ensuring that, or like trying to get them not hired. And then they create a profile for you that you can download, and this is and they link, of course, all of your different social media accounts. It's supposed to be like a way for employers to have like the truth about the potential employees, so that they don't hire them.
For the past year or so, of late, they've kind of come out with another campaign that targets Colombia's Divest movement. The folks that run Canary Mission, dug up the people who wrote articles for The Spectator and myself and members of the founding cohort.
I was like freaked out because I kind of heard my mom in the back of my head being like, okay, like there you go, you've ruined your career for them. So I knew I was going to eventually get profiled. In terms of like concern, I was kind of concerned. I mean, at that point it had become sort of a running joke within our SJP, and it was like really good having that kind of like support and light humor to backdrop like a very serious situation.
I was the first one from Colombia.
It was you.
I wouldn't say I was expecting it, but it wasn't necessarily a surprise or like scary when it happened to me. I thought it was funny. Other people were like a little bit freaked out, and rightly so. And I was, of course, like reading my profile at like 2 a.m. in the morning, and it was like, my first thought was like, wow, this is a really concise summary of my time on campus. And honestly, I wasn't that freaked out because I had gotten so accustomed to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that I'm graduating in a few short weeks, and they've just published this just in time for my job hunt.
A lot of people have been approaching me expressing concern of like getting onto Canary Mission. People come up to me and be like, I don't know if this is going to affect my ability to get into Palestine, which is also like, actually I think the biggest concern about Canary Mission in general.
And I fear that I have a lot at stake, that I can't compromise not being able to see my family or not being able to come back home if I am involved in these organizations. So Canary Mission affects the lives of the people around me a lot, and to be honest, it scares me. It scares me that that they can be watching what I'm doing, and that if I get involved in these organizations, I might not be able to come home once I finish here.
It like prevents a lot of people from going back. Alhamdulillah, for me, like I'm privileged to not have to worry about that, in a sense that like I'm not Palestinian, but for my Palestinian comrades, it's like something that's a really big issue for them.
I'm not concerned about employers specifically because, I don't know, probably because I'm not looking for a job right now, and also I feel like whatever employer I get, I would or I apply to, I would hope that they have just like an ounce of critical thought to look at this website that has like 300 plus people on it, and to question why such a site even exists in the first place. Also, if you read my quotes, they're like standalone and they're pretty clear, like what I'm doing. You can tell from my quotes and like from the description of what we do that it's not anti-Semitic. It's actually political activity that is valid speech.
That's the sort of thing that is really stooping low again. And so for all the folks that I've spoken to, they say, I want to work for an employer that respects my right to freedom of speech.
Calling our rhetoric like violent or calling our rhetoric as anti-Israel or even anti-Semitic are just like all different strategies that they use to kind of paint them as victims.
It is, again, something that's very reactionary. It shows that there's time, effort, and money put into a very well-branded website that makes insidious and racist, slanderous comments and critiques on individuals who practice free speech on a very progressive campus. My reaction to it is, again, not one of surprise, but it certainly informs me that folks on the pro-Zionist side are really stooping low.
And back in May when it first came out, it was a lot more vitriolic and a lot more inflammatory, and they threw out the word anti-Semitism a lot more than they did towards the end. I think that's because a lot of people filed suits against them for defamation and falsifying information.
For everybody who has turned a blind eye to it, that's great. It's a way not to fuel the fire, if you will. But at the same time, we need support from people who understand the importance of freedom of speech and can stand with us in solidarity to really make sure that Islamophobia, xenophobia, and racism is critiqued, and make sure that they protect our freedom to organize on campus. For the most part, the activists that I've worked with are people who aren't scared to confront a problem that they see, and are indeed people who can really speak truth to power.
Regardless of where you are or which borders you sit within, our story and our ancestors not only dismantle, but they managed to destroy these barriers. Still, somehow, we managed to go on with our lives.